Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. I am Dale of the Biblical Linguist. In today's video, we're going to be reading Matthew chapter 3, verses 6 through 10. And I'm very excited because I just recently linked up with a gentleman from the Learn Biblical Greek channel who has been offering me constructive criticisms on my pronunciations and helping me out quite a bit. He's a Greek native and he speaks English with a British accent. So I believe he is a quite the learned gentleman. And yes, taking the time to watch these long form videos that I'm making, I can't thank him enough. So thank you, sir. I will leave a link to your channel down below, as well as I always use the Cross Bible as my reference point for reading the Greek, for comparing the Greek to the English. And I also added a third column. I have the Byzantine text form Greek New Testament on the left. I have the American Standard Version down the center, and I have the Spanish Reina Valera in the third column. Oftentimes I find that the Spanish is a much more concise translation than the English. The English is sometimes kind of awkwardly written, and so I can't always follow along in my own native tongue. All right, anyways, let's get started. Matthew chapter 3, verse 6. Και βαπτίζοντο εν του Ιορδάνη υπ' αυτό εξομολογούμενοι τας αμαρτίας αυτών. So que and βαπτίζοντο, baptized, en to Jordani, in the Jordan. Some versions include the word potamos, which means river. Some versions, the Mount's translation version says Jordani potamo, from potamos, which means a river or a stream. In this Byzantine text form, it doesn't have that word. It's just implied that this is the Jordan River. Ip afto, by him. Ip here, in modern Greek, we have the word apo, which means from, and this is that same word. So if I wanted to ask you where you are from, I'd say apo pou ise. Apo, from, pou, where, ise, you. Where are you from? And then I would say ego ime apo tin Elada, I'm from Greece. Or ime apo tin Germania, I'm from Germany. Exomologumeni, this is scary, but it means confessing. Tas amartias afton, their sins. So how would I translate this? And they were baptized by him, referring to John the Baptist, in the river Jordan. Exomologumeni, confessing. Tas amartias afton, confessing their sins. Amartias are sins. Now this word exomologumeni, it's a scary word, but I guarantee you it's not as scary as you think, because really the root of it is, the base of it comes from the base word homologeo. Homologeo means literally to say the same thing. Homos means the same, and logos means word or speech. So homologeo means literally to say the same thing. By putting an X in front of it, it adds the idea of coming out of, or fully or openly doing it, performing the action. So exomologeo means to fully confess, to fully acknowledge, openly acknowledge. So again, homologeo means to say the same thing or to agree. Exomologeo would mean to fully acknowledge or to say it openly, to confess. So they were baptized by him in the river Jordan. They were confessing their sins. Idun de polus ton phariseon ke sadukeon erchomenos epi to baptisma aftu ipenaftis genimata echidnon tis ipedixen imin figin apotis melusis orgis. All right, kind of a mouthful. Idun, behold. It literally means you, plural, you all, look. The polus, many. In modern Greek, poli means very. This is the same word. Ton, phariseon, Pharisees. Ke, sadukeon, Sadducees. Erchomenos, coming. Epi to baptisma aftu, coming to his baptism. Ipenaftis, he said to them, genimata echidnon. Now this is a cool one. Genimata means offspring or progeny of. It's from this root that we get in English the word Genesis from, or genealogy. Genimata. This is also in modern Greek, we have the word gyneka, which means woman. And if you think about it functionally, this is what a woman does, right? She bears children. This is her role in society. We get other modern Greek words too. Syngenis means relative. Engoni, I think, means engonos is a grandson. Engoni is a granddaughter. And Eugonia are grandchildren. And so we see it everywhere in modern Greek, this concept. So genimata echidnon. Echidnon are vipers. Now, this is actually where we get our word for echidna from this very word. Now, you're thinking a snake and a viper are in no way related. Echidnon are poisonous serpents, poisonous snakes. But then in Greek mythology, it took on this concept of a monster, and it became like a mythical monster. Echidna in Greek mythology was a half-woman, half-serpent, mother of monsters, such as Cerberus, Hydra, and Chimera. Then Latin borrowed it, echidna, and to refer to a serpent or mythical creature, and then it percolated into English as a mythological creature, sometimes poetically referring to a viper or a serpent. So why do we have the modern word echidna to refer to that spiny anteater looking thing? Well, when Europeans came to Australia in the 18th and 19th centuries and they discovered this spiny anteater looking creature, they thought it looked creepy, and early naturalists loved classical names. They also saw that it lays eggs, which was deemed monstrous for mammalian standards, and so they gave this creature the name echidna. Tis ipedixen imin pihin apotis melusis orgis. Tis who ipedixen. Ipedixen means warned. Imin, you all. Pihin, to flee. Once again, this is where we get the word fugitive from, or fugire in Italian, to flee or to escape. Apotis, from the melusis. Melusis, melondikos in modern Greek means future. Melusis here basically means the coming, and then orgis, which is wrath. So I'll break down this word ipedixen here. The core verb here, diknimi, means to show or to point out or to make visible. This is where we get our words in English, digit for finger, which in Greek is daktilo. Daktilo. This is also where we get our word indicate and index from this diknimi word, verb, root. And then by putting ipo in front of it, ipo means under or beneath, but with a verb, it gives the connotation of something happening indirectly or in advance or slightly or secretly. So ipo diknimi means to point out, to indicate, to show clearly, and in this context, it means warned. And then this word orgis, orgis is the genitive singular of orgi. Now, I believe we do have this word in English, but I am going to keep this as a family-friendly channel, so I'm not going to pontificate too much in that direction. But orgi comes from orgao and orgizo, meaning to swell up, to grow ripe, to get angry, something rising inside. Just like in English, we have the concept of boiling with anger or being hot with rage. And so orgi is a swelling passion or wrath. In the Koine Greek, it's used to indicate strong anger, divine wrath. This is actually where we get our word organic from, and organisms. Orgi is divine wrath, which is a little different from the word thymos, which is more of like explosive anger, whereas orgi, to my understanding, is more of a gradual divine wrath that is sort of expressed over time. So, with all that out of the way, how would I translate this? Behold, that many of the Pharisees and Sadducees had come to his baptism, and he said to them, O ye offspring of vipers, which is a very, very good roast there. Who warned you to flee from the coming wrath? Verse 8, Piisate un karpon axion tis metanias. So piisate from pieo means to do. Piisate, so you do. Un, therefore, karpon, fruit. Axion, worthy. This word is very common in Greek. Tis metanias, of repentance. So piisate, so how would I translate this? Well, the word karpon, I want to talk about this a little bit. Karpon is a very important word to know. Modern Greek, they use the word fruta. Karpon from karpos occurs almost 70 times. So piin karpon means to make fruit, to bear fruit. Piin amartian means to commit sin. So yeah, this piin verb is pretty important. But back to karpos. So karpos is literally what you pick from a tree or field, the yield of labor. And so it's both physical fruit, but it's also spiritual in nature. So it can refer to crops, produce, profits, or the results of your behavior, fruits of your labor. Karpos tu pneumatos means the fruit of the spirit. And interestingly enough, this is where we get our word for carpal from, like carpal tunnel, the carpal bones in the wrist. And the reason for that, the reason it's suspected at least that this is why we refer to those bones as, is because those are the bones used to pick the fruit. We also see it show up, if you've studied botany, the terms pericarp, exocarp, endocarp, mesocarp. These are layers of a fruit. So how would I translate this? Therefore, make fruit that is worthy of repentance, or create fruit. The English says bring forth fruit, but I would say do things that are worthy of repentance, right? It's metaphorical. It's not literal. All right, number 9. Que mi doxete legin en eaftis patera echomenton Avram lego gar imin oti dinate otheos ekton lithon tuton egire teknato Avram. Okay, so que me and do not, doxete. Doxete comes from the root dokeo. Dokeo means to think, to suppose, to appear. Dokimi means it seems to me. Doki kalon, it seems good. Doxa means glory. This was one that was in Mounce's book to commit to memory. Doxa means glory, but it also means opinion or belief. Dokin alithes, it seems true. Doxa means, once again, glory, or literally something that seems right to people. It seems right. It's this concept. Dokimos means tested or approved. So dokeo is a form of mental correctness, to form a mental impression of correctness. So in this context, though, I would actually translate it as, don't you dare, legin en eaftis, don't you dare say to yourselves, patera echomenton Avram. Echomen, in modern Greek, echo means I have. Echo, so echomen here means we have. In modern Greek, I could say, echo mia gata, I have a cat. Echo iskili, I have dogs. It's still very much used. So, patera echomenton Avram. Don't dare say to yourselves that we have Abraham as a father. Lego gar imin, I say to you all, oti dinate otheos, as powerful as God is. Dinate here is an interesting word. I really like this one. Dinate comes from dyname. This is where we get our modern English word for dynamic from. Dyname means to be able to be powerful enough to do something, to be capable of doing something. Dynamis means power, force, ability, or strength. So dyname means to be able to be powerful enough to do something, to be capable of doing something. It expresses ability, potential, possibility. So dyname piin, I can do it. U dyname ergeste, I can't come. Dynamis is a Greek word concept meaning power, force, ability, or strength. So for example, in modern Greek, they use the word dynatos as an adjective to describe if something is possible. Ine dynatos, is it possible? But also, dynatos means strong. Now, why would strong and possible, see, in English, these are two completely different concepts divorced from one another, at least in my mind. And it's like this in other languages too, like in Spanish. Strong is fuerte, and possible is posible. So it's not, this confused me about Greek initially. Why is strong and possibly going to fall within the same ideological root? Well, and this is another instance where we have to think about something slowly, right? If you're dynatos, if you're able to do something, then that means you're able-bodied to do something. If you're able-bodied, then you have the strength to do something, right? The power, the capability of doing something. And so capable is a good word in English that encapsulates this idea. Are you capable of shuffling the cards? Are you capable of writing on the blackboard? Are you capable of lifting 300 pounds? This is kind of where I would fit dynatos into this category of being capable. So for example, in modern Greek, for me to say, is it possible for you to come over later? I'd say, ine dynaton na erthis argotera. Is it possible? Is it dynaton? Ine dynaton. Is it possible? Na erthis argotera, for you to come over later. So we could think of dyname as conceptually as having inner strength and power. And so yeah, this is where we get the word dynamic from in English. The word dynamis was carried into Latin as dynamis, and then dynamics was adopted by English in the early 17th century. The meaning having force, having power, energy, or producing change. So in physics, dynamics is the study of forces. So lehugar imin, I say to you, oti dinate o theos, that God is so powerful that ekton lithon tuton, from these stones, egire tekna to Avram, he is able to raise children of Abraham. So literally what this passage is saying is that God is so powerful, he's able to take these stones and turn them into Abraham's children. The English translation is a little awkward. So the English translation in the American Standard Version is, "For I say unto you that God is able of these stones to raise up children unto Abraham." Now, I don't actually know what that means in English. The Greek is a lot more clear, I think. Actually, it's not. The Greek is also awkwardly worded, but the Spanish that I have up is much more clear. Porque yo os digo que puede Dios despertar hijos a Abraham donde estas piedras. So literally what the Spanish is saying is that God can awaken children of Abraham from these rocks. And this is what this word agire means, to stir, to arouse. I believe this is also the same word used when referencing Christ's resurrection. Yes, egire from agiru means to, yes, excite, arouse, awaken. Very important word. It occurs 140 times in the New Testament, but it does mean to raise also from the dead. So in this case, referring specifically to turning rocks and raising them up as children. Not raising rocks as children, but turning rocks into children, converting the rocks into human beings. That is the power of God. All right. And so how would I translate this if I was the scribe putting this into English? This whole sentence, I would say, so don't you dare say to yourselves that we have Abraham as a father. I say to you that God is so powerful that he can awaken these rocks, turn these rocks into children of Abraham. In other words, like, don't think so highly of yourself that you can claim Abraham as a father or as an ancestor. In other words, don't feel so haughty or so prideful and boastful that you claim Abraham as your ancestor, because God can take mere stones and turn them into Abraham's children. So if God could turn stones into Abraham's children, then what does that mean to your significance? In other words, humble yourself before the Lord and stop acting so prideful. Idi de que I axine prostin rizan ton dendron kite, pan on dendron me pion, carpon calon, e coptete, que ispir valete. All right, so idi means now. It's a particle. It's used almost 3,000 times. It means a lot of things. It's mostly a filler, in my opinion. It can mean but, it can mean and, also now. On the other hand, I oftentimes translate it as then. So idi now, then, I axini. Axini here is axe. This is where we also get our English word axe from. Not referring to ask in English. Instead, it means the tool, the implement of the axe, which is used to chop wood, obviously. Axini, prostin, rizan. Pros, basically before or in front of. Tin, the. Rizan. Rizan here is a root from riza. It's a tree root. Rizan ton dendron. The root of dendron, a tree. Now this dendron word is very interesting because in English we have, in glass making, they have this concept of dendritic glass, dendritic pottery, which is where when you're making glass, you chew tobacco and you spit the black tobacco into the glass as it's drying, and it forms like these dendritic patterns in the glass. It's very decorative. This refers to branch-like or tree-like crystal formation. And we also use this term dendritic within crystals. We'll see these patterns emerge as well, because the branching pattern resembles a tree. And also in English, dendrology means the study of trees. Kite, after dendron we have kite. Kite here comes from kime, which means to lie, to be laid. What's interesting here is the modern Greek word for sleep is kimame, and this kime and kimame have to be related. So here it says kimame, which means to sleep, comes from the ancient kimao verb, not from kite. Kimao and kimame means to put to sleep, to fall asleep. Kimame means I sleep in modern Greek. And kite, they're saying, is a totally different verb. Kime means to lie down, to be lying, to be situated. Olithos kite epiti yi. The rock is laying on the ground. So vivlion kite epitis trapezis. The book is lying on the table. It's about position, not sleeping. I don't know though. I think I disagree with ChatGPT here. I feel like kime and kimame, kime meaning to lie or to recline, and kimame to sleep, I feel like they have to be related. I mean, I'm sure if you go further back, there's a relationship between the two concepts. Pan un dendron. So pan means all or every. In modern Greek, we have the word pandas or paddas with the N in there. Paddas tas amartias would be like all of the sins. So pan all un means so. It occurs 500 times. So, then, now, dendron, tree, me, doesn't, pion, make, carpon, from carpos, is fruit. So we have fruit here again. Kalon, good. Kalos, from the root kalos, good. Ekoptete, from ekopto, means to cut off. This is an interesting word. In modern Greek, the verb for cut is kovu, but it does show up in this form in modern Greek in the past tense. Ekopsa tin domada means I cut the tomato. So ekopsa, ekoptete, obviously these two verbs are rhyming, right? The old version and the new version. Ekoptu, ekopsa. So let's break this verb down. Ek means out of or away from. Koptu means to strike or to cut or to beat. So ekoptu would mean to cut off, literally. However, in modern Greek, they don't really use this anymore, this ekoptu. It's mostly used in formal or technical context. Ekoptu metalo, to cut metal. Ekoptu komati xilu, to carve a piece of wood. So yeah, the modern Greek word again is kovu. K and is, into. Pyr, this is the Greek word for fire. This is where we get our word for fire. Think pyromaniac, right? We still have this word, and the English word fire comes directly from this. And finally, the last word, valete, thrown, from the word valo. Valo means to throw, to cast, to hurl, to strike. Vali lithon, he throws a stone. Vali logos, he speaks words. Literally, or well, figuratively, he casts words. So ekvalo means to cast out, to throw out, to expel somebody. Isvalo means to throw in or to invade or to intrude. If you add kata, katavalo means to throw down, to overthrow, defeat. Provalo means to throw forward, project, or to put forth. Anavalo means to delay or to defer. So valo is very much like a verbal building block in Greek. You could combine it with almost any preposition and you will get a new meaning with it. You would use it for like katavalo ecthrus, overthrow your enemies. Valo philian, to show friendliness. But in modern Greek, they don't really use it as often. It's fallen out. It's mostly seen in formal or literary or technical context. The modern everyday word for that Greek uses is richno, to throw. All right, so how would I translate this last one? So then the axe was laid before the root of the tree. Therefore, every tree that does not produce good fruit will be cut down and cast into the fire. All right, and so there we have it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really had a fun time researching these new words. I would love to hear all your comments and concerns about my pronunciation. Am I improving? I feel like it's becoming a lot more clear the more I do this. But yeah, learning a new language is really just, I'm finding that, people throw around the term immersion very loosely. I don't like that word, but that is kind of what I'm doing. I'm listening to a lot of just random Greek conversations and trying to pick out what I can understand from it. But more than that, I'm just trying to hear the word. I think that's probably the most important part. This is how children learn, right? They don't have pressure to necessarily speak or to even be grammatically correct. They just hear the words. They just grow up in the environment of hearing all these words. And at first, all of those words are flying over their head and they're not comprehending any of it, right? And then over time, the most frequently used words sort of become concretized in their minds. even if they don't understand what they mean, they have access. They've heard this word and they can identify it at least. Then eventually their understanding begins to grow and they actually can then fully conceptualize what the word means. But before any of that happens, they're just hearing these words hundreds of times a day, thousands and thousands of times before they ever use them. And so that's kind of what I'm doing is I just read Greek, I hear it, I'm just hearing it, just absorbing it, right? Osmosis. This is the most effective way of acquiring a language, I think, is really just living it and then worrying about the meaning and the translations later. So that's kind of what I'm doing. It's just full on, I don't want to call it immersion, but I want to call it exposure, language exposure. To do this, it just takes hours, hundreds of hours of just exposure. Just keep exposing yourself to the language. That's what I've really found helps me. It's very reassuring when I glance over at the Spanish that it's really very clear to me. It's very easy to read the Spanish. And this is how I learned Spanish, was just living in a Spanish household and hearing it every day for 3 years. I wasn't trying to absorb it and to understand it because it was hard. But then one day it just sort of, I'm hearing the same words over and over again and they're starting to make sense. And this is just how it absorbs into your head, is just exposure. If you really want to learn a language, it's not flashcards. It's just hear it constantly. That's what I'm doing. It's a lot of fun. I'm past like the phase where this hurts, and now I'm getting more into the phase where it's starting to be more fun. So anyways, thanks so much for watching, guys. Thanks for nerding out with me today. I will leave links to the Cross Bible as well as to the Learn Biblical Greek channel down in the description below. I will see y'all in my next video.